Good.
Alexa, turn on a good song.
Why can't we just tell Alexa to turn that on and turn it off?
Oh, that work. Where's that hammer at? We got feet on it.
Georgia was in the rodeo and she said she was trying to get Alexa to do something and Maggie's like, we don't have Alexa.
Alexa left us through.
what do we have? Siri. I want Alexa, get me an Alexa.
That's the truth. You go with the light up there. Where's Steve?
There it is.
It is pretty.
They always look like a pretty picture.
Hello, Mr. Schaefer.
I was just talking about you. That got lost.
We were just talking about
You're
you.
the new guy. Yeah.
No, subscription.
I'm so nice and tired when I get, I have to take a nap.
Is this the singing chair?
I don't know. How about you find out?
You said it's on.
It's on. Whoa.
Maybe you push off there to make it stop.
Pause.
I have her look, it said it's on. It wouldn't be the same.
Are you ready to start?
Yeah, how's that really?
It, well, down below, it's the little dots are moving.
Mhm.
I don't know where to stop it
They'll still hear us though.
at. Oh, okay, I think I might have it off. Maybe when I just say scan,
Mine's in there. Here's mine. Here's my fingers.
right after the, it's clear back by the, right there.
You got it?
She
Huh.
says no, Dina.
It's not on, but was it on?
Huh? Not off.
Oh, it's not on. You're wrong.
Show.
Is the volume on in the picture? It's 8 o'clock, so.
The camera's not on.
You can see that? Oh, really? You can hear it too?
Just we shut it and run out of the room. When we're done.
Then watch it.
Pause it.
Well, when we're
She
done,
didn't think it was on, and she tried to pause it.
That's
It showed on the
weird.
screen.
I'm not showing.
What?
She told me I wasn't sitting in my chair.
She knew.
Okay, are we ready?
Those who don't vote.
Okay, let me go back to this.
If you want to. All right. Go with our meeting. Yep, babe. Smells good.
Matt ran over his the other day.
Oh, so simple. This thing is just a my computer.
I didn't see that.
That's why I got.
Who said that?
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Rich?
Here.
Rex?
Here.
Here, Steve?
Here.
Kim?
Here.
Present.
Public comment and recognition of visitors.
Oh, Chris is here.
That's one meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
This one you just,
We don't have to? Okay.
you'll do that at the regular meeting,
Okay.
so like
Hey,
maybe
this-
05, you can
okay.
begin it.
This meeting is to conduct a public hearing to discuss, consider, receive input and suggested modifications from district patrons relating to the current parental involvement policy.
$6,400.
So with nothing underlined, is everything the same?
My recommendation is you adopt it.
So is this a whole new policy?
No, you're just reviewing it, and then in the meeting, regular meeting, you'll.
Oh,
So we just never approved it? Is that the deal? We'll approve it in the meeting.
It's a yearly thing, every July you have to.
Oh, we always have to redo it
Revisit
every
it.
year. Okay, got it. So do we have to make any motions or just close the meeting and go on to the next one?
Wait for the 8:05.
And then go right into the next.
Any questions?
It's now 8:05. We'll call the meeting to order for our regular board meeting.
And you're on the next one.
Meeting agenda. School, let's see.
For the student fee policy.
Student fee policy.
That's right on this one. That's this one too. Okay,
And that one has been changed.
okay. And did you hand that to us?
It's in your packet, and you'll vote on those changes in the regular.
All right.
5416.
Any changes to it?
Do I need to roll call again?
Yeah.
Frank?
Present.
Kim? Here. Steve,
Here.
yeah, here. Rex,
Present.
Rich.
Present.
Public comment and recognition of visitors. This meeting is to conduct, the agenda of this meeting is to conduct a detailed review of proposed student fee policy pursuant to Nebraska statute 79-2-125 to 79-2-135, the Public Elementary and Secondary Student Fee Authorization Act. And hold a public hearing for the purpose of hearing support, opposition, criticism, suggestions, or observations of district patrons relating to a proposed student fee policy.
What's changed on this one?
Nails.
The meal bid prices.
The date is section 4, when you change
In which section, Howard?
section 4, extracurricular activity fees.
Both sets of the school meals under elementary and secondary did. The driver's education files.
5%.
That is in two places. It's on page 307. It's also on page 7. Probably that one on 3, we didn't change this document, so that might need to be deleted. Or maybe that's where that needs to be changed.
So in that one, what happened? Okay, non-residents, non-attending. But if you're not a resident or if you don't attend school, but you're still live in this school district,
I don't know if I followed you there for sure, Steve.
oh, on the $100 fee,
For the driver's ed.
yeah.
Yeah.
$100 for non-resident, like non-attending, so that means if you live in the district, you still pay the $100 if you don't attend school.
Not necessarily, that could go year to year, but I think the other needs to be, depending, we've been covering everything in the past, but
Yeah.
this was the first year we had a non-resident. And for an out-of-school, or out-of-district student that is now homeschooled that took driver's ed. So we feel that they probably need to pay toward that
Which one is it gonna be?
Yeah, which is it?
The $100 or the?
$100.
Yes, this one on 307 has 175 to 275.
Okay, so
That, well, that's what it used to be, and I don't think we saw that when we added that at the end.
Okay, that's what you're referring to.
This is the amount of 50 and
Well,
100.
I guess if that's all, I didn't realize that was in there.
I didn't see it.
I
It's
apologize for
on
that.
307, 250 or 175.
Is
And then
it-
it's 707.
is it enough? Are we charging enough to pay for the instructor?
No. We absorbed that, started last year with it, and was voted on to carry that. But I feel if that isn't a present student of our population, probably needs to be a cost factor. I looked at $100 as being probably the minimal, but if we were to pay a percentage with the number that we had this year, it would be more like 300, 275 to 300. I think that's probably only fair, as I see it.
Right. If they're a student, it's not so much.
So do we need to take that one out of this? It's 175 to 250 needs to be taken out.
I would, unless you feel that needs to stay there. And, use it.
I don't think so. Used to be part of the regular classroom.
I know
I
they had
think
debate
it's
with them.
important for the community and for the parents of the community.
And even those that might have to pay that 100, they will save that almost the
Oh,
first
yeah.
year that that child is committed to the driving team of that family.
Then again, if we raise it to 300, maybe they think, well, we should go to school there, so it only costs us 50.
But they're still taxpayers in the community.
Not
This says
necessarily.
non-resident,
Non-resident.
Non-resident, non-attending. The one up above it says enrolled attending students, so.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
The
they're attending.
the resident non-attending is not really taken care of.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Unless you're including
And
them in
we,
that.
I think we had one other family from North Platte that doesn't have children going here, but wanted to know if we were having drivers said, well, it was too late. We'd already started.
Well, I don't mind, you know, and the $100, if that kind of covers our costs, that's.
But if it's not covering our costs. It says $300.
$300.
But in years gone by, you offered this course during the school year, which wouldn't have had a cost factor. We offer it during the summer.
So could we change that to perhaps resident non-attending 100 and non-resident non-attending 300? I think that would be a good solution.
So we visit about that. And that's presuming you have at least 10 to 12 wanting to participate.
Could it be 300 or, I mean, if you have less, then it's gonna be less, right? Or more,
More,
I mean,
yeah.
if you have more students, you'll have less. You wanna leave it at the 300 or cost of the class?
I think so. I think you're fine with that.
How many students went through driver's ed this summer?
I don't know if they're in the district.
I tell you what,
That's what I'm
probably
More than-
many more than that would make it a little difficult to get accomplished. I would say 15 is the max.
You know,
I just
like
feel we need
see
to be
the
fair.
residents
Right.
one way or the other.
But I think for our students and for our residents, that it's important that for an outside person to come in, I feel like they should have to pay the amount it costs to educate.
So take out the one on page 3.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna change the $100 for resident non-attending and then.
And then you'll approve that at the regular meeting as presented.
Well, with the changes, right?
Not 100 for the
150.
resident. That's the only other changes.
Lunch fee.
Don't put 2 lunch fees for elementary. Secondary.
Is that it? Do we move on? Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Can we lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
The Nebraska Open Meeting Act is the poster placed on the west wall over there. Rich,
Here.
Rex,
Present.
present. Steve,
Here.
Kim,
Present?
Frank. Let's do the review of the norms. Frank, can you start, please?
On the norm.
Yes.
Sorry. I don't know what's going on with the sheriff, but I'm trying to hire people to call. Norms, listening. We will listen to understand by using eye contact, not interrupting or having side doors.
Decisions. We make decisions based on what is best for all students in Stapleton Public School, using current data, considering the impact on the staff, and following all legalities.
Expectations. We collaborate to do great things for students. We avoid negativity, but encourage dissension and constructive criticism without repercussion. We value different opinions and trust that everyone is working for the best interest of the students.
Confidentiality. In order to freely discuss what we need to discuss, we keep what occurs during executive session confidential.
Time. We agree to come prepared by reading the packet before the board meeting, and for administrators to share only highlights during their reports. Utilize a timekeeper and timed agenda in order to have efficient meetings.
Participation. We invite input from all. We agree to be respectful of everyone's thoughts and ideas. We will articulate clearly, concisely on topic and loudly enough so all can be heard.
Thank you. Board development.
I visited with Nicole Cobus. I believe maybe you've talked to her from Sparks Data concerning what we plan to do with our paperless activity. We first made contact on June 10th. She responded, well, I responded, visit with her earlier than that. But when she got back to me with this, we replied and gave her everything she needed to come up with a date for us to start this process. When I contacted her today, she said, well, yes, I have your information, but several schools were ahead of you in requesting the same thing. And so I will give this some priority today and hopefully get back to you later in the week. But why don't you please call me to make sure I have a date lined up. So we're looking at probably sometime in August. Now, what she has stated here in this email to me as well, once the portal is created, the one with the staff will be creating agendas and minutes, and one with the board. So the staff training will take 3 to 3.5 hours, and the board training will take about an hour. Now, what she means by staff, I presume, is the administration, the business manager, the office manager, and possibly the board president to decide staff training, and probably in your situation, just to observe what is expected of us. But she was very sketchy with that information. And so anyway, she has us on her list. Several other schools have taken precedence over us at this point in time. But hopefully I'll have some sort of an answer to get to you with an email later in the week. had, and we'll talk about that a little later, but we've had both the transportation meeting this week, last week, and building and grounds as well.
So we'll go over this later.
Unless you would like to do it right now.
Yeah, there.
Okay, we'll have one of those on the building and grounds. I was pleased with how that probably 2.5 hours went. Happened to be one of those mornings after rain the night before. We walked through basically the entire building. Walked around outside. And the gentleman that was willing to maybe do the yard work mentioned to me, and I've got what he said just the other day. He said that it's fine if you people want to cut the sod and remove it and place it wherever. But if he's going to lay any new sod, he would want to do the finish work to the lay of the land before he lays it down. He said, I'm pretty particular, and if I'm going to have anything to do with it, he said that's what would have to happen. But it was possibly suggested that we just cut the sod and clean up the area or lower it where we want to, and then maybe just relay that again. Some of that's probably not of the best of condition, but we could probably make do. He's willing to supply the sod and that finished labor. We didn't come to any sort of an agreement on a price as such. Probably just of that.
Did you have a transportation meeting?
Okay, transportation meeting, we had all the buses out, we looked them over, decided we need to maybe get some washers, as you might want to refer to it, a kind of a Loctite washer to help hold those mirrors better in place. We've got a crack in one of the windshields that needs to be replaced. Contact has been made there, and I believe the date's been set. I don't have privy to that right now. Louis took care of that part of it for us. Going to change the tires out on Gina's bus, the steering tires, with the one bus that if we end up getting the grant that we've applied for, that bus has basically new tires on the front, just switch there.
If some of this, do we need to move those committee reports that then should have into this old business?
Anything you want to add to that, committee members? I think you all have a copy, right? The locker rooms, all that piping has been removed, present time. They're working from the ground up. They should have most of that completed by either tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. Mrs. Kramer inspected that, and I think I got a thumbs up from her today on how those locker rooms at least looked. We need to remove those lockers that are down there in the boys section as well. They've served their purpose. I think they've been there since 1914. If anything, we'll put up a nice board with hooks on it. Most of the time, these guys carry, in junior high anyway, carry their stuff in their bags. Don't use those lockers anymore. Or we could get a little more extensive and maybe put up some wooden lockers that would at least air out material that was hung up in them properly. Or if we want to go to some real expense, we can probably get some metal lockers back in there. If we do, I want them basically screened so there's some airflow through there. They could possibly be locked if we.
We don't need to excuse any absent board members. Do I have an approval of the agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Kim,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes,
yes. Publication of notice,
Everything was put up where it normally is.
have no public for comments. Old business. Approval of prior minutes.
I looked them over, they seem fine, so I will make the motion that we approve the minutes as presented. On the June 17th meeting.
Well, second.
Any discussion? Kim,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Rich,
yes,
Rex,
Yes.
yes. Steve,
yes,
approval of claims.
I looked over the claims and everything was accounted for and looked in order, so I would make a motion to accept them.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I did have one question, was that the solutions, those $5,200, is that for when they're coming here?
Yes.
And,
Solution tree,
okay, and when is that?
that is Thursday at the teacher birthdays.
Okay, so August,
Mhm.
okay, all right, thank you.
Rich,
Yes,
Rex,
Yes.
Steve,
yes,
Kim,
Yes,
Frank,
Yes.
yes. Treasurer's report,
Okay, you have in front of you the paperwork. See what we have in checking, super now, incidental, money market, CD, 40063. Total cash. Compared to last year's at this time. Quite 100 under. Still where we'd hope to be at this point in time. Receipts, Logan County taxes, Lincoln County, McPherson. We questioned today when going over some of this, the business manager and I, maybe the fines from Lincoln County, we need to possibly question the amount that we've received there. It just doesn't seem to be what we would normally have taken in for the last maybe 3 months, I believe. Is that what we kind of came to the conclusion? A phone call will probably be made next day or so, seeing if that is correct or if something has been possibly deleted. That's how close we try to keep that. At least give it attention. Expenses, got your payroll, your bills. Total, compared to last year, we're up about 19,000. Quite a little bit taken care of this month. Special building. very close to where we expect it to be at this point in time. Appreciation. Now, with the buses, when I first visited with Tyler, salesman that sold us this latest addition to our fleet, said we wouldn't have to pay for it till after we got our grant money. Well, I didn't think that was probably correct, and as it turned out, they have to show a canceled check before they'll release the grant money to us. It's business sense there. And then we have an expense for a van for $24,500 with the amount of about $3,500 out of only coordinate credit. Qualified cap, it's just carried on there at that amount. Employee benefits,
That didn't get zeroed out of the CD yet because when I called, it doesn't mature until September 28th, I believe, and we don't want to lose anything or have a penalty. So the CD part's going to sit there till it matures.
but other than that, that will be zeroed out at that point in time. Hot lunch. Smoke all settled, that's kind of where we sit. Got a new freezer coming in tomorrow. Chest type freezer. When we first ordered that, for some reason, something happened in that transaction. And I checked on it the other day. They said, well, somebody's already picked it up. I said, well, who picked it up? Well, Kramer picked it up. Well, there's a lot of Kramers up here. Which Kramer? I don't think I remember. Well, we were fed some false information. The deal was never really completed, I guess. No Kramer picked that one up that we were supposed to have. Well, long story short, the deal is cheaper when we made the transaction happen today than what it would have been 3 months ago. The whole deal is the meat is also being picked up, the latest deal there, and I don't know whether our deep freeze will be cold enough when that shows up, so we might have to depend on our local grocery store again to keep it cool for at least a day. It's a quick throw in on that one. Activity. A little better than it was a year ago at this time. But if you want to look at that sheet, we have a couple of areas that are in the negative. Just some transactions need to, transition of money needs to take place here. Probably before the next year's worth of expenses coming back. Other than that, most of them are in pretty fair shape. Any questions? We are still doing well with what we consider to be the budget for the year. We'll make it.
So this is a first, so we have a class of 2019 fund balance of negative. Thought all of those had to be paid before they could graduate.
Are you looking at the right?
Why not negative, right?
It's got 82.
Oh, I'm on the wrestling fund, sorry. I was off one
I was
line.
like, I
You're
thought I
one
saw
ahead.
this.
One behind or one ahead, whichever. Right,
I'll excuse you.
thank you.
And that'll be moved into the trophy fund case once, I'm sure. it's paid. They usually give it a few months.
Okay, community liaison report.
So, I don't have anything. We don't have anything at this point in time.
Activities director report.
Summer activities have been really busy with camps and clinics. Volleyball set to have their camp July 16th through 18th, both junior high and high school. Girls seem pretty excited for the upcoming season. Uniforms are starting to arrive. We are in schedule for all of those. We have football and volleyball uniforms in, and they look really sharp. Track, cross country are ordered, and the junior high reversibles are set to be ordered. Then we'll work on basketball. Yikes, the big one. The new volleyball system has arrived. Thank you to the boosters and foundation. Program wasn't needed this, and it's exciting to know that practice time will grow with this opportunity. Special sized wall maps are in the works. Thank you to the local bank. We will recognize the bank with the new maps after they arrive and are installed. Other than that, not much is new with the activities.
Any more board reports, board committee reports? Okay, new business. Discussion items. LD 399 Americanism bill.
Okay, I believe you have, you had some here as well.
Yep. Hard.
Okay. We, as I see it, and you chip in when you feel like it, Mrs. Walker. We've got a lot of this already in place and been staying on top of it, thanks to the committee that we have in charge of that. Mr. Venus has taken it serious. Our board president has taken her spot on that committee serious, and so I feel comfortable with what we've got in place, and it just needs some tweaking.
The one thing I saw in there was one meeting must include public testimony. That wasn't in there.
No, it wasn't in legislature, I think.
Is that just an opportunity for public testimony, or?
I don't know. I
People
have-
to come and,
I don't know.
Could we do it like this, like we did Title I? If, advertise that they want to come to one of our meetings, we just read what we're doing and.
That's what, I don't know. I underlined that
Mhm.
because that was in there and I thought I'm gonna have to check to see what they specifically want for that.
I know Mr. Venus and I talked about it in the spring, and we talked a lot about that number 2, students between 8th grade and 12th grade must complete one of the following things, and we talked about doing the written test. That would be like a citizenship test. To do that. 6th grade, we definitely would do that. Civics is our government class.
I felt like we did
Yeah,
a lot of this, and we have 2 meetings a year. I mean, there was just that one part in there. I was like, I'm not quite sure what that is.
I'll underline that. Figure out a way to do
I
it.
was going to ask Jason on that, but I didn't get to it. So.
We have the checklist there. I'm quite sure with the next meeting, that we'll probably be 100% compliant with what's expected of us.
Jason's really good. Mr. Williams is really good about keeping minutes and.
Do we hold appropriate exercises for George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Dr. Martin Luther King, Native American, and all these days? Do we have?
Mostly. A lot
I
of
would
it's
say it would be
through
like
the
an
different-
elementary.
Mhm.
They definitely celebrate those.
And Mr. Venus tends to
Mhm.
use those particular days to, with his various American history, world history, and
But I
especially
noticed more,
American history and
I
civics.
noticed more of the elementary in that, try to get a lot of that into their, Nebraska.
And that's kind of their
history.
standards too,
Or
for these
standards.
things. We definitely do Veterans Day.
But we've talked about that too at those meetings, about the different things that each one of them does. Mr. Halsted. Who's the other one? This is- Yeah. When I saw this come up, I thought, we do almost all of this stuff already.
And you got us ahead of the game.
We're very fortunate to have people on staff that
Careful.
are ready to run with it.
Any more discussion? Action items, discuss and take appropriate action on requirements for homeschool students to participate in activities.
Okay, I looked at this kind of long and hard, and visiting with the school district that I pay some pretty good taxes in. They have required for several years that if a homeschool student would like to participate in sports or the plays or speech or whatever, that they spend at least a half a day in the school building. Either it's got to be a block, either they come in the morning and then participate in whatever else is extracurricular in the afternoon or evening, or they do the afternoon section. Now, NSAA only requires at least 10 credit hours per semester. But visiting with the attorney, that's our call to make if we want to say, we expect you to spend a half a day.
Which paper are we supposed to be looking at?
We don't
have.
Oh,
5,004?
policy 5004.
Oh, sorry.
Is that for any level of student that you're talking about?
Myrna happens to do it junior high as well as high school. So it's consistent.
Do we,
Right now, we're requiring 10.
Even junior high?
Last year, I don't believe we pushed that. We had the one student, but
Keep it chorus. They came together always though, so they didn't have to make a different trip. And I know that Amy was in 2 classes at the end of the day. I know she was in chorus, the NPE. Is that right? Is that who you,
so
it's a second girl?
we've had one other parent ask, wanted to know what we expected. And that's what brought my attention to this whole thing. If we do anything, we probably need to make some changes with page 4 at the top. Essential versus non-essential elective courses. But as I visited with NSAA and the attorney, that's our call to do there. We don't have to limit or say they can't take certain classes, especially if we go with a half a day. They gotta go with what best fits them, that they can fit into.
So do we need to just delete 5.5?
I think so, that top part. We'll just shorten that up by a couple of sentences, if that's the route you would like to maybe go in the future.
So how long or how much time does the student have to be in role to be counted for state aid? Or I'm just curious.
This would help if they're doing it half a day.
That's what I kind of,
And I think
we
that's
might as well
where
pat ourselves on the
Vernon
back.
decided to go with that sort of judgment. And when I visited with their superintendent, he said, we have not had anybody fight it to his knowledge.
I personally would like to see if they're gonna participate in our extracurricular activities, I think they should attend a half day, and I think they should do it year round. I don't think they should be able to pick, like, for instance, if they want to play football, I don't think they should be able to select the semester that football is in, or if they want to play basketball, select this. I think they should have to come half day all year long.
In the past, the kids that have done this, have they done it year round, or have they picked a
To my
semester?
knowledge.
The only, because basketball runs through 2 semesters, but I could see someone just wanting to do football and only attend 1/10 per semester, and I think that's a good idea. Or volleyball, at least anyway, it's just a 1 semester.
Oh, well, I like the idea.
More than 4 classes.
Same standard as we do with students. Yeah, we don't let the guys play the game if they're not happy.
Your thoughts on that, Bruce?
Okay, it's a pain in power school when there are only 2. I mean, you can do it, but it's you, and you don't count them. They don't count them. I think some of the kids really helped our programs. I'm thinking of the senior that just graduated in quiz bowl, in who's in play, I think. It helped bump up our chorus, numbers in chorus. I know usually when they come, they make it so they're not coming in and out all day.
And like Vern pointed out, you've got to do either the morning or the afternoon. You can't take 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. It's one way or the other.
I know they're not happy when we change our schedule, because they're kind of in their mind thinking what the old schedule was and trying to work it. But we have to change it for our kids and our teachers.
If it was changed to where they could take history, does their performance in that class count like the rest of our students?
They get graded, but right now they can't be qualifying for valedictorian or salutatorian.
But I mean, if they, I don't know, even know if it's possible, let's say they get in a testing deal, if they take the test, does it co-mingle with our other students?
Oh, are they comparable? Or is that what you're saying?
Assessments, I think.
Are you thinking state assessments? Yeah,
Okay, I think I follow where
They
you're
don't
coming
take them.
from. I don't know for sure at this point in time what it costs to get a homeschool program, whether they can piecemeal that. So if they were coming for a half a day and say we offer American history in the afternoon or civics in the afternoon, they had maybe taken that with their homeschool program, but would be part of our, whether that would cheapen up their program for that.
No, I wasn't worried about that. I just, and I'm not saying that homeschool people are bad. I just didn't know if they.
Perhaps if they didn't perform well, would that count against our
No,
Do they take the
average, I would
testing?
guess, was,
they don't have to take the test.
They don't take the test.
they would take their own.
Mhm. Because they're not here enough. So it's not There's another little thing I do in Power School that says they're not to be counted.
I'm looking down the road, trying to be visionary with what has happened in the past, and I'm not necessarily in this district, but two other districts I've been in. My personal feelings as your superintendent, that this would be a good approach.
In the past, did they go all year? Like they're, whatever?
Well-
Just jump in and out?
They, well, like the senior boy, he took a trip to Africa,
this
which
is true.
required almost, 2 weeks or something. But we,
But he'd already taken it home anyway. They were just really getting the government experience.
educational experience. It's a great experience, as I saw it. But he made up whatever he needed to have made up as well. He's an exception to probably a rule.
What about the activities part of it, the activities handbook, if they're in
They have to follow that.
pretty much letter for letter, except for like the grade thing or something?
Same with the way they handle themselves discipline-wise.
And I must say, I haven't had problems discipline-wise with any of them.
Not since I've been here. One other school district that was.
You know where the problem, there's more problems when they come to the elementary. You know, if they've been homeschooled till say age 7 or 8, then they might not be at the same reading level or math level. We've had some, kids that actually they were homeschooled and then came in, but they catch up usually pretty quickly. But academically, they've been strong in high school and junior high.
So do we need to make a motion to put it in there? I would make a motion that homeschooled, I'm not sure how to put that, not elected students, attend half-day all year, be eligible to take part in our extracurricular activities.
I'll see that is worded.
Do we
Might
need
have
to,
tweak that a little
do we
bit.
need to remove number 5?
I
in that
don't-
same motion?
And remove number 5 from the Article 5 of the policy 5004.
Number 5, you don't get much out of it.
A lot of words.
I'll second Kim's motion. Any more discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes,
Frank?
Thank you.
Number 2, discuss and take appropriate action on board policy 5004, students full-time and part-time enrollment.
That was what you
That was
just
just what we
did.
did, okay.
You just combined them together.
Okay. I was like, that seems like we were just doing. Number 3, discuss and take appropriate action on activities director.
Just hold on. Who seconded that?
I did. So we skip number 2 then? Do we need to take further with that?
You combined them.
Combined.
All right, discuss and take appropriate action on activities director's job description.
Activity director and I went back over what you people saw last month. She's comfortable with what we have there listed. She says that pretty well covers everything that she feels she's responsible for or cares to be responsible for. And so I'd recommend that you accept that. And I think it would work well in the future if we should need to make a change in years to come with the personnel we have.
I'll make that motion.
And second that.
Any more discussion? Rex,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes,
Steve,
Yes.
yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on the review of parental involvement policy 6400.
We need to make some changes there. There's two areas, I believe. that
Not on the parental
Not on
involvement,
that one.
it's right on changing it. They just have to, approve the review of it.
Okay, right. I was ahead of myself there. Excuse me.
I'd make a motion to approve review of policy number 6400. Parental involvement.
No, second.
Any more discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Kim,
yes,
Steve,
Yes.
yes, and Rex.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on the review of student fee policy 5416.
make the motion that we remove the summer course fee on page 3 of 7 and change the fee on 7 of 7 for driver's ed to read $50 for enrollment. And attending students, $100 for resident non-attending and $300 for non-resident non-attending.
I'll second that motion. Any more discussion? Kim?
Yes,
Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on the review of anti-bullying policy 5415.
did this change or is this new?
It's the same.
It's just a review.
Just a review.
Review.
Document.
You see any problems?
I'm ignoring it, you guys.
Put it on.
It's mine.
I thought it was on.
I keep thinking it's mine.
It's just telling me over and over.
I'll make the motion that we adopt or
Review.
the review of the anti-bullying policy in 6415 that is presented.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? Steve?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes,
Frank?
Yes.
Yes, and Rich.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on revision of board policy 1120, tobacco policy.
You can add all of those revisions together or,
So numbers what through what?
the revisions on number 7 clear through number 17. You can make those all in one motion. And they'll all be listed separately as presented. Or you can do them all separately.
How do you have to do it? Item, or
we can
policy
discuss them,
number?
discuss them item by item and just group them together and make the motion to approve.
We've done that in summers past because there's so many of them. And then 18 and 19 could be put together if you want to do them separate, because those are brand new policies.
We are about as current as you can probably get this according to our attorneys, 7 through 17.
Uh, 81, you're talking about 8151. I don't believe that superintendent usually appoints member committees. President of the board does.
What are we doing? Help?
That's number 16.
Are we just sort of going through each
Are
one?
you gonna go
or-
through each individual one or are you gonna go?
That's what I was trying to do.
I was just going.
I guess-
remember
I thought if there was any of them anybody had a question about, we could talk about it otherwise.
Do you have a question then with 16, Steve?
Yeah, 16 all night.
We previously distributed a memo on LB 399. Policies 81 and 51 have been revised to reflect the Americanism. That's 81, 51.
No, on this is what he's talking about. On this policy, it says, it shall further be the policy of Stapleton Public Schools that the superintendent shall appoint the members of the above committees. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's usually appointed by the board president.
there's reasons for it.
I don't see that.
That's Article 8 of the top internal board policies.
There we go.
Yeah, that's,
So both 8151 and 8153 are dealing with the same thing, right?
53, maybe, basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's always been the board president.
I don't know, I'll admit, there's a lot of stuff to go through and to use. Looking through all the policies.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, so
Yeah.
these policies and these
most of the tobacco and stuff is just electronic, wasn't it?
Well, that's not even, is that in the parking lots and everything? They're not supposed to have it? The teachers and all?
School grounds.
Because when I'm going through the handbooks, it's that same verbiage for the teachers, for the students. Which we probably
So
should
if
get
they're in
rid
their
of our,
car, if they're in their car and using their e-cigarette, it's.
if they're on school grounds, yeah.
We have one particular teacher that parks.
You know, watch
On
them,
the
she's not on
street.
food grounds.
So we need to make the change on 8151 to say board president instead of superintendent.
That's only so, I think it's over the way.
I would have no problem with that.
This is- Just say with revisions.
There you go.
Revisions.
Nothing new in the students' admission requirements.
What now?
I didn't see anything new in the student admission requirements. All these revisions are the same then?
Yeah, even though that 8151, evidently that has slipped by you in the past, but we can make that change.
I think the lawyers kept slipping in because that's the reason everybody else, the way everybody else is reading.
And these are all from him, so I
Yeah.
didn't specifically go word for word with our old ones.
That one I'd like.
You will be submitting the new updates so you can get on track with those, right?
Well, some of them that they give us for the board policy, we already have a board policy of that number, totally different.
Yeah.
And I've asked them before, I said, what do we do? And they said, well, just put it where you think that it would go. But when they start sending revisions, then sometimes we're a little lost as to
But if we already have a policy, don't we already have a policy that reads president fixed committee? Pretty sure I've seen it.
Yeah, it's in there.
Just wonder why you would, if you just fail to adopt it, or what do you?
We don't, do we have a policy committee anymore? See, that's one of them that's on here.
And the budget committee, we have a budget committee.
Does it say including, or does it, do you have to have?
So it said it.
That the following will be the standing committees of the Board of
Board of
Education.
Education, yep, I think. We did have a policy committee.
I think we need to do something about the policies. I think like we should have so many ready, somebody go through this many and then a couple of people go through this many each time and then we can get through them. Just so we don't run into this kind of stuff.
I know two of you have read through everything we had in here, according to what you told me. Right? And so, yeah, you could do it that way.
I mean, it's just to keep current if there's, they feel like it's not with our handbooks or whatever. Or does anybody else see? So
Station, we don't have buildings and grounds on this. Pretty well a standing, isn't it?
I would
Yeah,
say
he
probably
just
And the facility.
changed it.
facilities would probably be
Lumped it together.
I don't think they were ready.
Because safety and building grounds rules is what we combine.
right.
Yeah, we combined them.
Got technology,
and we need to have the co-op committee.
wellness, PLC.
And I thought the wellness was something that we're supposed to have. They sent this because they didn't think we had it right, or what?
I think they sent it because it changed the name
Name
of
of the committee on it.
Americanism Committee name had it.
That's,
Oh.
that's the big thing
That's the
now.
thing.
So
So maybe we should just change that in our
I wonder
policies.
what's our policy say on that one? You got that, can you get that?
Yeah,
Let me go on to the,
Or maybe we don't.
I don't think the 8,000s is in there.
yes, I got him
You
added.
got them on? Okay.
Yes, I have seen that. I've seen the policy.
Maybe we could just change the wording on ours rather than.
And adopt this one.
There you go.
Just change the wording on the
That's-
Americanism one.
You're talking about 16 then.
We changed one of our policies, that there has to be multiple reasons.
But,
I don't think
There has to
so.
be more than one reason.
You can, or you can just go ahead and adopt it. You got either option.
I don't think changing the name of something's changing. the policy, though, is it?
And like the ones we added, the e-cigarettes too.
You have this one.
we have this one again.
This is what you have in.
Exactly.
As the board, as the
That is-
superintendent,
I know that we had the other one somewhere along.
the superintendent's on it, huh? Shall I point?
Well, and we're
But-
missing the committee. I know we had one.
Can we table this one, and Gina, could you for next month get us one that has our correct committees on it?
You know, unless I put this one in there. This one has an insert date, so maybe it's not the,
I'm almost certain that says that we're president.
let me run and get the book.
I know somewhere.
And the different committees are on there.
And all the committees.
Just the policy I've seen, the only thing that might not be on there.
And I know we did
Was
our
that
budget.
policy or was that?
3 people in the Americanism Committee.
What I've seen it is.
Oh.
In our actual.
Frank
purpose, right?
and
Yes, they
Steve.
don't have a program.
No, this is the minutes.
But that's how we had it.
Yeah, we only had one on there before, and I was like, I read through it, and was like, we're not doing that. But it
That's how
says,
good you were.
yeah, at that point, it was like, okay, no, this says 3, and I don't want to get, because they can get you for a misdemeanor, wasn't it, if you
Yes,
He did have
that was T.
I'm still claiming that we have misdemeanors or.
They took the teeth out of American.
The rest of them is just dealing with the different tobacco stuff.
So, yeah.
And tobacco and purchasing policies. That talks about the $5,000 and $90,000.
I think the 90,000 one changed.
Did anybody see anything in the other, that was for 15 minutes?
I think so. But that's not saying that.
I tried to read through them.
I did, but I missed that.
The one that you have in this book, the main binder, has all of them listed. You've got 14 listed. Negotiations Committee, Curriculum Committee and Staff Relations, School Transportation, Building and Grounds, Budget, Policy, Administration Review, Americanism, Safety, Wellness, Stapleton, McPherson County Athletic Cooperative Committee, Professional Learning Community Committee, Technology, and Teacher Evaluation. That's the one that's in the book.
So we just need to change the name of the Americanism
To that,
to that.
And then what does it say for to choose who appoints them?
it says superintendent.
Teacher evaluation committee? That's called principal.
I don't,
You know, I wonder if that's back when we did
I was gonna say, I don't remember.
West Ed,
Right.
because we did have a committee and we met when we built that way back when.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, as
But
far as
we
the
haven't
board,
had
we're not.
one since we adopted what we had.
Right.
So we need to fix that.
So
I'm saying.
should we just like table this one and fix it, or?
Is there a timeline that this one has to be?
These are from the attorneys saying that they need to be changed on what they recommend.
We can,
Because I thought we dropped that.
I don't know if I should share this, but you know, like I went through our handbooks, which this is a lot of the same things. And I would send, Justin, why are we doing this? And he'd say, well, blah, blah, but you can do what you want to do. So, I mean, I think you have leeway. Because there was just some things.
Their recommendations.
Right.
Mhm,
But we need to make it so it fits us.
right,
What we're doing.
We'll
right.
Probably chipped it off of the
I think it's,
Americanism.
right, it's a name change. The same thing with the assessment. They just changed from NISA to NISCUS. That's why that one's coming up.
Or initials?
Yeah, code. It's the code here.
and
Mhm.
Oh, I guess.
So what changes do you think we ought to just, so we could go ahead and get it done with?
if you want,
Probably
the-
don't need
if you
to.
want that 8151 change, it's a matter of
All you
cutting
really
paste.
need to do is change that name to Committee on American Civics and change the superintendent to the board president.
But are these the committees that we appointed in January?
And she has the list of the committees that we have.
Minus another 7.
I'm like, but that's not what's in that board,
We need
in
to,
that book.
we need to vote to change ours and leave this one out of there. It's like, this is my thought.
You've got 10 committees right now. This has 14
That
listed.
we did in January.
The 4 that's not on there need to be on there.
Like budget.
We have 10, there's 14 listed here.
How
You
many
don't,
of
you don't
them-
have a
how
teacher
many of them am I
evaluation.
on?
Or just goes-
I'm missing a meeting or something.
You've been getting F's all
You're on.
It depends on how many more evenings or mornings you want to give up.
I'm Americanism and PLC.
Negotiations, buildings and
Negotiation.
grounds and safety, transportation.
And you combine two of them.
School improvement curriculum. No, wait, that's
You
Kim,
better not
sorry.
enter my name.
DLC committee.
He's
That was
not
Kim
building
that
with
was
some
on-
ground.
He's not buildings and grounds.
No.
That Rich been showing up
Yes.
I just show up.
Negotiation.
Yeah.
Transportation, Americanism,
Yes.
PLC, co-op.
Yes. That's all I remember.
But we have 10, so we don't have teacher evaluation.
No.
PLC we do.
I think we should just change our board policies to match what you have, and then change the committee on American civics. And then I think that should read the board
10 ought to
president
be,
instead of.
10 ought to be enough.
Yeah,
When you combine safety with building and grounds, they have them listed separate, so that'd be a combination.
I don't want technology.
I think I'd
The technology was
Get
on.
down
there
what
when
you
they
got
were
over
doing
it.
other stuff.
Over here,
get
Yeah,
10
put
of
them
them.
here.
To me, that,
Yeah, and change it to say board presidents to the superintendent.
And change the committee,
probably,
American.
that one, we probably need to probably have a,
Table that one.
well, I don't know that
Just vote on
table
it
it, I would have it a separate deal,
Motion.
motion.
So maybe motion 7 through 15.
Does it say when that one was revised in the book?
That did not get put in here, and I don't know if this was put in, but you did that like last July. I'll have to look for the date. You did all the 8,000s at one time, and I'll have to look
That
back
made
and put
us-
the date down.
Made us about as complete as you've ever been.
So I make a motion that we approve 7 through 15 as revised and presented.
Can you give us some revisions?
Oh, it's a good thing you're sitting
I
on
think
that
it says you're
side.
supposed to write your packet and come prepared.
Okay, I'll just. I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
No, let's see. I feel like I'm in
Yeah, well, yeah.
That one's
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes,
Frank,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you.
we laugh about it, but some wording in there can say.
Yeah.
Right, so.
And that's the reason why they're all there.
Yeah.
We've exercised a few of them, I'll imagine that.
So
But
do we move to 16 then?
Yes.
Okay, discuss and take appropriate action on revision of board policy 8151 standing committees.
I make the motion, we accept the policy with the changes that we have discussed.
I'll second that one too.
Any more discussion?
thank you.
Steve,
Yes,
Rex,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Rich,
yes,
yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on revision of board policy 8153. No, we did that one, okay. That's 16.
18.
Yeah. Discuss and take appropriate action on board policy 4031 wage information.
So you did 7 through 15 and 17. I've been that.
All right, got it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Skip 16.
We knew that.
16 was.
Well, that's why I read that and it was like, okay, we just did that one.
So 18. 18 and 19.
And these are new policies, is that correct?
Yes, we didn't have them in there.
which one did you have?
The wage information and
Military.
Oh, military recruit, okay, yeah.
like this.
Okay,
I read it, I just.
yeah.
And then we don't start with it. We're gonna make a motion to adopt and approve the board policy 4031 and policy 5013.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? discussion? Frank?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Okay, discuss and take appropriate action on opening a co-op activity account.
As we have not had a co-op meetings until the 30th, I think we should table that until the next meeting.
I second that, so
It's a motion.
When is your next meeting?
30.
30.
Not even before the retreat.
No, it's a bunch
There's a chance that you'd have both superintendents not at that meeting. Because of what's considered to be administrative days. And it makes it a little difficult for us to drive to Lincoln that next morning because that's where it's going to be held this year because of the flooding that took place in Kearney. Do we need to maybe move that up a day possibly?
I think it's important that you and Mr. Jesperson are there, I think. What do you think, guys?
And you've
I don't want to know which way
got you.
I don't know if it's just minutes, but usually it's about the same time.
It's that,
I don't know, I can get some back on that, totally off topic.
We can.
Earlier or later work for you.
I just think get over with earlier,
Use that day, but do it earlier.
or whenever we do it, but earlier than later than,
a different day.
yeah.
I'd sure recommend that.
Okay.
That happens, so we can make a good solid decision here at the next meeting. Help out the businessmen.
Okay, any more discussion? Kim?
Yes.
seconded that, I'm sorry.
Frank? You ready?
No, yes,
Kim? Frank?
either way, whatever one you're on.
I'm just asking. She's right. Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Rex?
Yes.
And Rich?
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on removal of sod and extra soil from lawn.
Already pointed out what communication I've had there. I'd like to have Mr. Burnside maybe comment to this a little bit. After our meeting we had the other day.
I guess, as long as Mr. Werner and Creative Landscapes could get it done, I'd say get it done, but it wouldn't be real tough to do if he didn't do it ourselves. But,
Now, is that included in this 3,200, his removal of it, or is that?
Not of the sod. Well, he would
It would destroy the sod.
the sod.
He
We
would-
want to save it, we will have to do it ourselves.
Okay.
But we could rent a sod cutter, and as far as moving it over to the north side of the street, if we just had a couple hours and a few people, we could, or 8 hour and a few people, we could, that's sod.
Did he say when he could go to this?
But if he was going to replace anything with new sod, he wanted to be able to do the finish work.
Right, I understand that. Did he say when he was gonna be able to get to this?
No. But I think that probably needs to happen after we come up with some sort of a decision when we could possibly. do it.
That's what I was wondering, if sometimes we get a lot of stuff
We'll get
going,
to-
then we might not get to that part. That's what I.
I'll visit with him hopefully first thing in the morning.
We talked about the hydrant. And if we
And
did that,
I want a hydrant put in across the street so we don't have to drag a hose across. There's really no way we can regulate that. According to Louis anyway. Regulate that, our traveling gun to keep from hitting face of the scoreboard or the back of the scoreboard if we try to water that area the way it is right now. And, so I think a hydrant would suffice and keep that alive over there and looking better than what it does right now.
So this bid takes care of his landscaping and leveling that. Okay.
And we saw it correct.
But if we would cut the sod and remove it, it would be he would drop that price. Take to rip it up. Let's say we can several $100 off of there for sure.
Do I have a motion?
I will make the motion that we accept Creative Landscaping's bid if they reduce it when we can coordinate with us so we can remove the sod.
Second that.
Any more discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes, and Rex.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on purchase of 2018 Chevy van.
I think it's needed for our fleet of vans. If we end up starting the school year thinking we have maybe even one more than we need, one of those present Chevy vans we have could also leave the fleet. Price of this 2018 is with the trade-in of the 08 Ford, which is $24,500.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2018 Chevy van.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
If I can add this, signage will be put on that Thursday of this week, and either Thursday afternoon or Friday, it can be brought to this address. We're going to put the same signage on there we have in the Ford van, be red letters, public schools. And van, what number?
Yeah, and we're just gonna put the same back on.
Use the same number as we did on the Ford van, so we don't have to change fuel cards. But it's pretty sharp. I've personally seen it. And the carpet still had the plastic on it underneath the 3 seats. I don't think anybody's been in the back 3 seats.
More discussion? Rex?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Frank?
Yeah.
Yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on tune-up and aisle rails on north bleachers.
Well, I think you had in your packets a proposal. We changed the rails, have changed the brackets. And that proposal also includes a section of seating that's broke up that we have to replace or need to replace. When the Building and Grounds Committee looked at the situation, we thought maybe we could possibly repair what's there. But with the new apparatus, if we should go with it, the railings would always be on there and not removed when we recess the bleachers and put back in when we brought them out. Those that were at that committee meeting probably need to address this, the rest of the board, what your feelings are. It's a pretty good price there if we should go with it. Rex, you want to touch on what?
I actually missed this portion of one page, so I was just looking. Okay, you're talking about the Northland. So we looked at it and some of the bolts have been stripped out, and I think the guy can take it off, and I would even do that as far as weld it back shut, drill and tap it so we can put the original back on. Takes very little to do that, but for what that's gonna be, that's pretty pricey. But they are going through a lot, which I didn't realize on their,
Will the
going-
handrails be a little more sturdy? Because I feel
I
like when
can't.
you walk up those things, they're really loose. They kind of got a lot of give to them.
That's why we need to do what Rex just pointed out, if we're gonna keep the old.
I have looked at it, and I think we should go with the new ones that are on there permanently, because when you've got something that you're taking off, taking on, putting on, taking off, putting on, you're always gonna end up with these stripped out things. I would think if we do this new ones that's down there permanently, I think it would be prudent to save part of the old mats to cover them with when they're practicing. Just use some tarp straps to cover these with, but I think you're gonna have, if you would crash into those when you're practicing.
it was a long ways out of bounds.
Well, that's when we're running the side.
Right.
Side.
That's what happened.
Kim and I looked that over this
What
morning.
happened to it?
That's a drawback that we saw as a possibility.
So for the 4,147, it'll be completely serviced and ready to go for quite a long time.
And that's putting the new brackets, the new handle,
Cleaning the seats too, wasn't it, or something?
basically six of
Degrease
them.
the rollers, the pickup dirt, everything else, oil. Because I looked at that first time, it said 41, 47. And I was looking at the picture, and like I said, that's their explanation. I was like, "Oh." But they're doing quite a bit of work there. And sure, they'll,
Well, I'm sure they're due for.
yeah. Anybody know what year it was?
After 19.
Under 14 years.
We also talked about pulling out the south bleachers, getting under there, a bunch of things over. It's been a few years now, since that's been over, probably. As Louis points out, they're getting harder and harder to pull out, push back. And they're probably not the safest as far as people being able to climb up, climb the seat without it sort of a railing to help guide them.
Okay, so can we discuss this first part, because that's on the next one? Just so we can get through this one and then.
Yeah, 23 first.
I'd make a motion to accept Heartland Seating and Company's bid of $4,147 to tune up and put new rails in the north bleachers.
Any more discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Frank?
Yeah.
Rex?
Yes.
Yes. Steve?
Yes,
Kim?
Yes.
Okay, discuss and take appropriate action on stage bleachers.
Think how that's worded. Do we want to farm and rancherize it? Or do we want to bring in some sort of professional? I think we should start with maybe a couple of our committee members or anybody else who would like to volunteer to come in on a particular day and look it over. And then make that judgment whether we want to go to the expense of patching it up, band-aiding it, whatever, or get serious about maybe looking at what it's going to cost to have them replaced. Plus, there's a good chance with the way the basketball and volleyball program's going to go in the next year or two, we're liable to have pretty full houses when we have games in our gymnasium. Yeah. And I've coached in this facility when you had standing room only. Probably have more people in here than Fire Marshal would appreciate. Those days will be coming back.
Never did hear nothing from Paxton.
They don't want to let it go.
Oh, they don't want.
Then there was one other school in eastern Nebraska, the same salesman had a hint on it. They didn't want to let theirs go.
You know, we probably need to do the walk around because we're not going to get to put new ones in probably between now and when things start.
No, they need a good check over for sure.
Might have to.
When's the last bid? 24,000.
Did you ever get a bid on that?
Not as such. The guy said, well, I think I've got a deal for you. And that's
That,
for
so we didn't go.
We'll communicate again and he can possibly. The last communication I had with him, he said, I'm going to be out in your area. I think sometime this summer I'll get a hold of you, Howard. And we can at least look at what it might cost if you want to go with me.
Is this the same outfit that we get to work on these?
Yes, so.
Do I have a motion?
Do we need a motion for it?
Just, it's right here, discuss and take appropriate action on stage.
We can get a group together to get in there and take a good look at it.
You take volunteers from the community too.
Sure.
Will you set a date?
That's what we can do.
Discuss and take appropriate action on 2019-2020 student handbook.
Well, I said in my board report that we both went to a session on the new laws, and they strongly recommended that we look at our handbooks, make sure they all say the same thing, that cases have been lost because it says something in here but doesn't go in here. So I had Justin look at them, and I would have loved for you to be able to have the computer programs where I could have just shared this document, but also when I was doing this, it's very nice to have paper to actually look at. So I'm going to share his red line, and you're going to find something out about me that I'd love to write, and I have horrible handwriting. So I have notes on some of these, which you may or may not be remembering. So here's my thought. I'm giving you a lot of stuff right now, and I would table this. My thought was give this to you. You can take your time to look at it, and then when we have that special meeting in July, if you see things that you want to change, or if you think it's okay, talk about it then, because I don't think you can act on it right now. And even as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, oh, I need to add this, oh, I need to add this. And I definitely want to talk to Tara, because some of this has to do with activities too, and I want to run that by her. And I did change some of these, so.
Did you see that Rich is not on the board yet?
But he is on this one.
Okay.
So that's the red line. So he just took my old, okay. So here's what I put together. And like I said, he said, you can do what you want. And he gave me some reasoning. But if it was helpful for me, because what they tell you, the first thing if somebody comes to you, you should look and see what the handbook says. So if I checked this, I kept it in there. So this is your student handbook. Then did you see all the pile of paper I had? And that's just for you guys. When we go to do handbooks, it takes days, doesn't it, to print them? So I'm going to give you the staff handbook, but my recommendation is that they just have it electronically for them so they can look at it. And Maxwell does handbooks for parents and students electronically. And she was going to ask and see how they did that, because you could have a signage, but we would put in, if you want a paper version, you can come to the office and get one. Because paper's starting to get expensive, and
Oh, yeah. Could be 60% higher this time next year.
parents sign them electronically and everything.
Okay, so all the changes that were made are recognized by a different color?
Yeah, and that's just what he gave me, like the blue, and then he
Okay.
puts underlines on them.
Right.
And,
Combination then.
mhm. And I want you to look at, there's one I was like, oh, I stopped for the night looking, I was like, I want to see what they say about this one. Look on page, let's see if this one's numbered.
Which book we,
Looking at the parent-student handbook.
Okay.
How do you want
Both of
to?
these say parents too.
Okay, why don't you look on, see how it gets to be crazy? How do you
I
want
was
to
like, I
handle?
saw this and was like, okay, is this changed?
So this one's what I've done. This is what the attorney gave me.
Okay.
The one that says redlined on it in very bad writing, that's what the attorney gave me. And this is the one that I've gone through, because I kept some of the things, and some of them I took out.
So what you want us to look at the
Your,
nineteen
yours,
twenty or the,
yours.
Look at mine, but you might
Okay.
want to look just why some things are out, et cetera.
okay,
Reference back.
And when I went, ours is just so huge, the book. Anyway, and so when we started talking, a lot of what's done is there's a lot of repetition. Like a good example of that is like we talk about student discipline, and then we turn around, and I know it's an absolute copy and paste to athletics. And there's just no reason to do it. I underlined athletics in the student part, and I'm gonna put something about that applies. Some things he put in the appendix, or sometimes it was in the appendix, but also in the book. So it's just like trying to take some of those things out.
So thick that you didn't even put page numbers on these here.
I know, and I thought I did actually, because that would help me.
That would help me also.
Here's the one I want to ask you about. Specific dance eligibility. You know, do you know where I'm? I didn't change it, and here he says, you get, it doesn't, it's just royalty, not the queen will be the female, the male will be male. I'm not really ready to go there, and it does have a little thing in there, it says it's up to the principal. I just don't think we're ready for that, do you? Okay,
no, you are though, it sounds like.
no, I
No, it says that.
I think as long as it's got a clause saying that it's up to the principal, I think we're okay.
We're putting our faith in you then.
We'll keep,
Bring on the lawsuits.
yes. The schedule was changed a little. I didn't make any really big changes. I made big changes last year to the kids. It was still kind of confusing about when the ineligible list comes out. And an easy way to say it is it's Tuesday to Tuesday. I mean, the teachers get to look at it Monday. So those are kind of the things I changed.
But I'll guarantee you that by the 1st of December, the paper copy will be pretty well dog-eared because she does do her
Oh, yeah.
research.
Yeah.
before we-
It will, it's worn out.
When we make money decisions.
What is the word they put across? I keep trying to think about when it's not the final version. What is that?
Draft.
These are drafts, okay? This one, I thought I killed enough trees. So this is the staff handbook. And so you can see it's got the red line. And I put my notes of what I changed, and then I did have time today, put the book in, but I noticed, I thought I had the right lunch amounts, but I didn't. So, I mean, there's still changes I have to make.
Holy snake.
Is there anything the same?
Yeah, that's what, when I got these, I went to Gina, I was like, look at this. So that first thing is just where you find them. Outside employment, I decided to keep. Can you read my writing? I actually like the way I did it. See, look, nothing here. Talk to Gina. The method of payment, they said changed. that's on page 12. Yeah, you do have some page numbers. See, I did that for you there. They said that what they recommended is just the salary payment. And I asked Gina if that's okay. So it's crossed out. Insurance would be part of the negotiated agreement. They can find it there, and that's attached at the bottom. Payroll deductions is on the stub that they get electronically, so that doesn't need in there. Fair use, I decided to keep because copyright always comes up. You know, it's nice to have something to come back to. And we're okay. Page 16, use of cell phones. We had said, we're so nice. They shall show discretion for using their cell phones. And they recommended that we say you do not use them, the staff. And then during duty time. So like during the planning, they could have them during lunch. We discussed that a little bit because the last thing my teachers want to do is have me come to their door because then they lose their students. I can send emails and they may or may not look at them. It's probably the end of the day. I send a text. I've got instant feedback.
So it needs to say employees shall not use cell phones.
It should be employees, right, not use cell phones
Or some electronic device.
during duty time. So when they're off duty. Then,
There's a court case in Nebraska, got a lot of bite to that.
oh, really? I thought it was important for that handling of money because when we have new staff members, or if you don't do it, but once a year, you forget some of those rules. Personal conduct, we had said the board expects teachers, and I agree, a good change is all staff. That's on page 17. Anti-discrimination, it's cut, but then he goes in and does it at a different place and easier, which I put in. So that's a whole lot cut, but he's just put it in a different place and more concise. So that professional boundaries is all new. There's a lot about that. And that's on page 29. On page 30, it's board communication and district employees, and what we've talked about that we need to add, and we'll develop it, is a flow chart that says, you know, superintendent, I'm under the superintendent. Actually, the superintendent would be under you, and then AD's under me, and then what our duties kind of are. So teachers have more understanding. That's something I want to talk about. On page 31, you see how that that tobacco products is the very same wording as that you'd saw on the board. You turn to page 32, 33. I've never looked at this ever for any reason, and it's board policy. You know, it's not something I refer to very often, and it is board policy. I'm keeping, oh, page 34 is the same thing, 35. And then at the end, oh, I'm keeping on page 48, when you were talking about that evaluation, you were saying, did we have a committee? Well, that's what this committee came up with, was this wordage. And so I'm keeping that in. And I think we probably should put, and we used to do it, we used to give the teachers their evaluation instruments. And if we do it electronically, that's easy. We could just add that to it so that they have that. And I got rid of that first line, that they're applicable to certificated staff and teachers, and administrators are not covered. But I do have an we did come up with an evaluation for me, so I got rid of that.
We spent some time together discussing budget.
I'm keeping about certification because you do have to be certified. I'm keeping the employment. So if you can read my horrible handwriting, and then we'll update this negotiated item and we'll add the calendar. So that's a lot to share with you right now, but maybe we could can we put on the agenda that we can see for sure? Because I want to share changes with students at that student meeting that we have when we get computers, et cetera. Any changes about that? One thing I'm thinking about doing, and it's more of a scheduling thing, is I would like our students to at least be able to go outside or the gym. Like we let our elementary kids in the morning before, they can either go outside and play, or they can go into the gym and walk when the weather's bad. And I'd like to give our kids a chance to do that once they're done eating. You know, say they're always done eating before the bell rings. But if they could just walk or go outside for a little bit, I think it would be good. The teachers are for this too. So that's a change I'd want to make.
So now before our next retreat, that's when you want this approved, right?
Yeah, or at least your, yeah. I'd love to have your recommendations. And I'll share, I've got the staff one done. I can share that with you and the one I have. But I might add even a few little changes as I talk to other teachers. Do you think we'd have time at that retreat to go over that?
I think we go with 6:15 to 6:30 concerning that. 6:30 is when we're supposed to start the actual retreat, but I think 15 minutes or 10 minutes here. And we're going to have some food and whatnot from 6 to 6:30. So let's just take 10 minutes to cover that so we can have that in place to be definitely approved by the August meeting. The school's going to be already ready to crank up the wheel. My thought process there.
Try to see if I did this all today, so I was looking to see on my notes if I shared everything. Yeah, I think I did.
I'd make the motion to table item 25 and 26, the 1920 student handbook and 1920 staff handbook.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Rex.
Yes.
Frank.
Yeah.
Kim.
Yes.
Yes. Superintendent's report.
Okay, we have what I put down there. I'm really pleased with what Jerome is getting accomplished with the handrails. If you want to take a quick little tour after the meeting tonight to see what he's done with the main hallway. They will disassemble those tomorrow, clean them up, get them painted, and reinstall them. They're going to do some welding outside of the building, finish those up. But I'm pleased with what I see. I'm also pleased with the fact that I was able to get him to use part of his crew. I was impressed with what I saw the first day when they took down the old fire escape. I didn't know whether he needed all those guys to be working on the handrails. So as it's turned out, he's got his demolition crew and he's got his rail crew, and he's keeping everybody busy, and he's running back and forth, making sure they're doing what needs to be done. And he said it's really working out well for what he has helped to do. And, most of the doorways have been framed up, or ones that just require a single door. They've cut those out. And my biggest concern is I bet we don't have those doors before school starts. And so there's going to have to be probably some construction going on after school hours. And Tom, who's heading up this program for Dowhauer, assured me that they can work during those hours as well. And so, but anyway, lots happening. The bathroom, the girls' bathroom, we've got all the stall doors put on. Really looks nice.
I said, it looks bigger in there.
And,
And they look old.
the countertop will be going in here in the very near future. The shelving I picked up for the kitchen area, I've got it in storage in one of my trailers. So as I can get the necessary help lined up to get those put in, to get that done as well. And the electrician will be stopping by to see what he can possibly do for us if the money allows, both in those restrooms and downstairs in the old 14 building and the dressing rooms. We need to get that updated. Possibly might want to go with some new ceiling tile, especially in the girls' shower area. It's pretty disgusting. A few things there we need to be looking at and want to see taken care of as the school year progresses. Any other questions on me?
Schools report?
When we talked about handbooks, I won't do that again. PBIS is something, it's positive behavior. We have it going in the elementary life. Because when we did West Ed, we did things quick and because we had to. But I've always thought we need to have a K-12 type program. And this is a grant. And we had these teachers that I have on here that we attended the training. We'll have other trainings. We've got a coach. Most of this is provided for because of the grant. Other schools in the service unit are doing it, and I think it would really, I think it'd help our school, but I think it'd also be something to look at for advanced ed for improvement. And it's something we've kind of been working towards. Power School, I completed the rollover and I started at 1920. Short sentence, very time consuming doing that. Preschool, I was just really curious how we go from $3,000 to $47,000. And it's all based on the amount of 4-year-olds we have. And we get to count them at 0.75, is that correct? 0.6, yeah. And that's going to vary from year to year. And we keep getting that until we reach the amount of our original grant, which is like 120. And I don't see us ever doing that.
Well, that was a nice shot in the arm there.
It's the grant that just keeps on giving. I didn't even know it did that. So, and then parents' nights. We want to talk about the new standards because like Patty Stewart was up working today. And
Here one day last week.
yeah, she's going through, and it's all that you, I'm trying to think of this word I could never say. None. You start with that. And then you ask a question and the kids kind of go through and try to discover things on their own. And she did a couple trial lessons last spring and the kids were on fire. They were coming into my office and going, look what we're doing. And so I want to explain some of those. My fears, I think people still think that she lectures, we hand out the workbook. And it's not that way anymore. You know, we teach standards. We'll go with our electronic devices safety, and then our computer release, and then we'll have activities that night. So, and I want to get with Tara and finish scheduling. I just know those are the 4 big things right now we want to talk about.
I'm meeting with Mrs. Hauser and Mrs. Stewart tomorrow concerning the purchase of STEM materials. Help Mrs. Hauser out as well as Mrs. Stewart in their pursuit of what STEM is all about.
And we have some grant money for that too.
We're using just grant money for that.
So on that preschool grant, that we don't have to match that or anything, they're just.
We are, but we're doing it with salary. This is the person who goes through that.
So the 47,000 will take like 66% of the teacher's salary plus her benefits will be the grant. the part we have to match will be the other part of her salary and benefits and the para. So it'd be costs that we already have, we don't have to come up with. So it'll almost cover that expense.
And one other thing, you can't ever depend on this. Because I'm thinking, wow, are we charging too much for preschool now when I'm doing this? Yes, but it's gonna change every year because of the amount of 4-year-olds, and we never know when the state's gonna pull that funding.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, that could happen sooner down the road.
I think we enjoy it for the moment. Good. And there's always a clause if somebody just can't afford to come, there's a clause that says that he and I can talk, and see what we can do.
Is that it? Thank you. We did have, a thank you note.
Oh, yeah. Where did I put it? And it was thanking, I know, here it goes, I found it. Much easier, I'm finding all the different, policies, yeah. Stapleton staff, administration, and board, thank you for the lovely memorial plaque you sent for Caitlin's funeral. And it's signed Amanda Kubik and Jason Lena.
The upcoming dates, a special meeting Thursday, July 25th. And then our next regular board meeting is Monday, August 19th at 8 p.m. in the school library. Where's the special meeting?
I'll just do it.
Do it here? Okay, and
Yes,
what?
we need that project.
Okay, and then what time?
Well, 6-ish, we can start showing up, socialize a little bit, meet the people, so right at 6:30 we can get started and go. I'll have some food available, and
Do you want to have that meeting for handbook like at
by
6?
about 6:20,
6:20?
we'll have that, we'll advertise that, dealing with the handbooks.
So 6:20, 6:20.
If you all meet, you're gonna have to have. it
Yeah,
at
you're
6
gonna have to have
o'clock.
your meeting.
If you're starting at 6, you're gonna have the meetings, like meal part, you're supposed to have it as, if you're all 6 here, a quorum.
5:30? A working meeting, working lunch?
4 to 6, working lunch. Out of the way,
To start at 5:45.
5:45. We'll advertise accordingly. My work?
Okay, and everybody's supposed to find one person to bring? And then
At
are
least
you,
one.
are you getting the other staff that he suggested? Like teachers? Board goals.
And Rich is the only one that's mentioned to me for sure who he's going to bring. I don't think I got an email from anybody else.
I'll confirm mine then, and get that back to
Right, I've
you. Any
got
name
mine.
tags or something?
Just as long as you bring that person,
I've got mine.
at this late time, I don't necessarily need to know.
I've got one person.
I just want to make sure I have enough food to.
Okay. And since we need to board goals review, I think that's part of that meeting, right? Our goals.
Well, it wouldn't hurt. And you can. You want to look your notes back over that maybe we came up with a little over a year ago and email those to me as you see it individually, and then we'll put a compilation together. Try that.
Yeah, like, who remembers that?
I've got a few notes, I guess.
Okay.
Right, probably on your iPad.
Rich, you better be bringing yours.
They're probably on your
It's my
iPad.
first meeting.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's in.
Yeah, it's right to the bottom, right-hand side of my bag.
Okay, so my question on this meeting though, can we forward emails, that email of what we're going to be doing to the person that we're bringing?
The agenda.
Yeah, I would think so.
Well, that they said kind of what we would be discussing. I can just forward that.
So they have a clue.
Okay. Well, I did.
Can you find some time to meet with me this week a little bit?
Like tomorrow. I'm leaving Wednesday.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay.
See, what else do I have going? I think that's one other meeting after.
All right, we'll adjourn.
I'm gonna run this upstairs. I'm gonna keep it on your.
See if you can get this to shut off.
26th. Friday, the 26th.
Friday the
Would
26th.
that work for you?
I'll make it.
That's what we're leaning towards. I'll let you know for sure. Good.
Cow.
26th,
Rich.
2 days in a row, why not?
Yeah.
Let's see, can we could have like a committee meeting or something in there too.
That's what we're talking about.
No, like another one.
Oh.